Hi everyone, I'm Marc Saltzman, a technology evangelist whose mission is to preach about the many benefits of technology. And I do so as a freelance journalist, author, and host of various TV and radio shows, as well as a podcast called Tech It Out. I'm also proud to call York Region home. In fact, over the next 30 minutes, we're going to hear from subject matter experts about why the Greater Toronto Area's York Region is the best place in Canada to grow your startup and build your career in technology. It is the place where talent and opportunity intersect. If you are an entrepreneur and are considering establishing your company in the Toronto area, today's broadcast will help you learn some practical steps to getting set up, as well as why doing so in York Region would be a smart decision. To get started, let's watch this short video introduction about the Greater Toronto Area and York Region. I love that. All right, let's now get to our first segment examining why the Greater Toronto Area and York Region have become a top destination for tech business and talent. All right, in this segment called Destination Tech, we will look at why York Region is such an attractive place for entrepreneurs to grow their companies, build their tech careers, and raise their families. With me today is Matt Switzer. He's Director of Investment Attraction with Toronto Global. Toronto Global is the Greater Toronto Area's foreign direct investment agency that actively works with global companies interested in expanding their operations to the area. We also have with us Gordon Shale, Senior Business Development Advisor with York Region's Economic Development Office. Working closely with the local cities and towns, York Region's Economic Development team supports local and new companies with their expansion plans in the region. And our third panelist is from General Motors Canadian Technical Centre in the city of Markham, York Region. In 2018, GM opened up their Canadian Technical Centre to the region, and this campus has now scaled to more than 800 employees. We have invited Dennison Thurasingham. He's the Manager of Electrification Thermal Management, and he's with us here to talk about why the company selected York Region to expand their operations and ongoing recruiting for the talent to join the GM team in developing the software and hardware solutions for the vehicles of the future. Thank you everyone for being here. All right, our first question will go to Matt Switzer from Toronto Global. Matt, the Greater Toronto Area has experienced incredible growth in recent years within its tech sector and the startup community as well. So what are some of the reasons for this?
Yeah, great question. And it all comes down to talent. Toronto Region's ability to grow, attract, and retain talent is unlike anything else in North America. We grow talent through our fantastic education system and strong post-secondary education schools. We're building that talent pipeline of the future, and companies can grow off that. We attract talent from some of the most favorable immigration policies that the world gets to see. We're able to bring in highly skilled workers through strong programs that allows them to have a clear access to permanent residency. We want them here, and they want to be here, which leads us to the retention factor. The ability to retain talent, to keep them here, to stick them here is important, and that all comes from the quality of life that the Toronto region can offer. When you look at any metrics that defines that, whether it's safety, education, strong safety nets, parks, culture, we have that all, and families are staying here and they're growing here. Now, what does that mean for the ecosystem? Well, over the past few years, we've seen it grow up. We've seen a maturity level kind of happen. What's happened is companies, they started up, they grew because of the talent, they were able to scale, and now they can compete globally. This is fantastic. So you have experienced leaders with a broad depth of knowledge that are now able to maybe start their own things and scale up those new companies, creating a strong kind of foundation of the tech sector itself. And this leads us to the startup ecosystem. Man, what a time to be starting up a company in the Toronto region. It seems that everything is coming together. When you look at the accelerators, the incubators, the amount of capital that's looking in at the Toronto region right now from all over the world is impressive. So when you layer these things together, there really is a cohesiveness that's allowing companies to grow, scale, and compete globally, unlike anywhere else in the world.
Thanks, Matt. Our next question is for Gordon Shale from York Region. Gordon, what makes York Region's tech ecosystem unique within the Greater Toronto Area?
Thanks, Mark. That's a question we get often. First, I'd have to start with York Region's geographic centrality within the Greater Toronto Area. The Greater Toronto Area is one of the largest metro regions in North America, and York Region is located right in the middle. York Region is connected to most major corridor highways. It has frequent commuter rail and bus services to and from downtown Toronto, and it is the only jurisdiction outside the city of Toronto with subway connectivity. This geographic advantage allows tech companies to cast a wider net for access to the over 4 million metro-wide area workforce, and it's also advantage to getting to and finding new customers. The next differentiator is the scale and concentration of its technology business community. York Region is Canada's second largest technology hub with over 4,300 tech companies. It is home to many global multinationals that have a significant presence, and they are conducting vital, deep tech research and development work to build their products of the future. For example, we are home to IBM Canada, AMD, Siemens Ruggedcom, Celestica Canada, Huawei, and Qualcomm, just to name a few. It is no surprise that actually 6 of the Greater Toronto Area's top 10 tech corporate R&D spenders are located right here in York Region. However, we also have a robust scale of homegrown Canadian scale-ups and startups that have clustered around these multinational companies, making it really a complete ecosystem. And this concentration of multinationals, Canadian scale-ups, and startups is Canada's most densest tech hub. Another unique feature of York Region's tech community is it has a higher concentration of B2B versus, say, B2C facing tech companies that you might see in some of the other tech hubs. The companies here are leaders in developing technologies for other industry verticals such as automotive, financial and business services, and life sciences. As a result, these B2B companies tend to rely on a more experienced type of workforce that are familiar and in many cases require knowledge and understanding of the type of industry verticals that they serve. And finally, speaking of talent and workforce, the final key differentiator really is the quality of life. Simply, York Region's quality of life continually attracts and retains top professionals. As we know, the GTA is the fastest growing metro area in North America. Well, York Region is the fastest growing large jurisdiction in the Greater Toronto Area. It also has the highest concentration of tech talent in the Toronto-Waterloo Technology Corridor. And really, why is this? York Region's municipalities and communities are routinely ranked and highlighted as top locations in Canada to live and raise a family. Our municipalities provide a variety of urban and suburban lifestyle options, along with a diverse mix of housing options to choose from condos, townhouses, to detached houses. It's an amazing place to raise your family while being embedded in one of Canada's largest technology communities.
Thanks, Gordon. Our next question is for Denison Thurasingham from GM Canada. Denison, the Canadian Technical Centre Markham campus is a very important location for GM, especially for the development of embedded control systems, infotainment, and autonomous vehicle software. Can you please provide some background as to why York Region was selected for these types of operations?
Thanks for that question, Mark. Here at the Canadian Technical Centre at York Region campus, we're playing a really important part in GM's evolution towards a future that's really self-driven, all-electric, and highly connected. That's why Markham is such a great location. It's filled with lots of talent in the controls and the software development space. We're surrounded by this strong ecosystem of just great universities, startups, and really innovative partners. Because of that, we have such great access to these brilliant minds who believe in GM's mission and really want to join us on our journey towards a future of zero crashes, zero emissions, and zero congestions. You don't have to go to Silicon Valley anymore to do this kind of engineering work. It's happening right here in Canada, and that's what's really exciting.
And speaking of talent, Dennison, what are some examples of current positions available at GM's Canadian Technical Centre Markham campus? And what are the skill sets that you're looking for from a successful candidate?
Thank you, Mark. That's a great question. So GM CEO and our chairman, Mary Barra, has really stated that our generation has this ambition and talent and the technology to realize the safer, better, and more sustainable world that we really want. That's why here at CTC Markham York Region, we're really continuing to hire to support this vision of zero crashes, zero emissions, and zero congestion. We're really seeking engineers for the automated driving and infotainment systems, electrification, embedded controls, and really any innovative new technology. We also offer great co-ops and internships here as well. Some of the soft skills that we look for to work here is obviously we have to be really driven, really passionate about reinventing the future of mobility. You need to have an interest in controls and software design, of course, but also we want team players, but also people that can work independently. Most of all, though, you need to be open to new ideas that really push the boundaries on what is and what could be.
Well said, Dennison. Thank you. I want to thank all three of our guests for their insight into why the Greater Toronto Area, and especially York Region, is a top destination in Canada and North America for tech companies to expand, and a very desirable place for top talent to live and grow their career. Stay with me as we move to our next segment and learn about leading organizations in York Region that can help make your startup a success. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. Let's closely examine the York Region startup ecosystem and leading York Region organizations that provide support to entrepreneurs. We'll also hear firsthand from some startups and their experiences leveraging support from these organizations. You will be in good company growing your startup in York Region. First, I'd like to introduce Melissa Chi, President and CEO of ventureLAB. ventureLAB is a leading innovation hub in York Region and is home to a 50,000 square foot facility, including a state-of-the-art hardware lab, the first and only of its kind in Canada, offering startups a wide suite of support services and programs. We also have with us Dr. Joseph Ma, CEO of a startup called Bionic-i. Bionic-i was selected to participate in the first cohort of ventureLAB's new Hardware Catalyst Initiative program. This program is Canada's only accelerator offering customized support to hardware startups. Welcome to both of you. First off, we have a question for Melissa. Can you talk about the type of programs at ventureLAB and how they support startups?
Hello, Mark, and thank you for the warm introduction. ventureLAB is a leading innovation hub located in Markham, York Region, Canada's second largest tech cluster and home to over 4,300 tech companies and the highest concentration of tech talent in Ontario's tech corridor. Our organization is led by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs, leveraging decades of industry experience in building IP-rich companies from startups, scale-ups, and global multinationals, and commercializing transformational products on a global scale from Canada. We focus on the founder's journey as we are entrepreneurs who are passionate about enabling the success of Canadian tech visionaries who are building products that will transform healthcare, energy, education, transportation, and finance, solutions that form the foundation of sustainable and globally competitive communities. Our portfolio of companies generates hundreds of millions of revenue each year, have created over 4,000 jobs, and raised over $200 million in investment capital to continue their scale. 3 of our signature initiatives focus on the founder's journey of commercialization and scaling their companies. The Hardware Catalyst Initiative is Canada's only lab and incubator for founders developing breakthrough hardware and semiconductor solutions that are embedded into products that define our future, from autonomous and electric vehicles to the latest mobile phone to 5G communications and beyond. Our capital investment program, led by our in-house team of investment experts, focuses on growth tech companies who are ready to scale. Our team has enabled hundreds of companies to raise over $120 million of investment to continue their growth. Lastly, we know that a thriving tech sector is an equitable one. At the beginning of 2020, we launched Tech Undivided, an initiative for female tech founders to grow and scale their companies. And we do this with Tech Undivided as our vision is to reduce unconscious bias and bridge the gender and diversity gaps by giving founders the strategic and tactical expertise to refine product market fit, amplify sales, and secure growth capital.
Thanks, Melissa. Now, Dr. Ma, can you tell us about your startup Bionic-i and how you became part of the Hardware Catalyst initiative at ventureLAB?
Absolutely, Mark. Look, right now we have a new vaccine resistance, more transmissible, potentially more virulent COVID-19 strain that we're on the verge of a third wave. So how do we mitigate risk? So at Bionic-i, what we've done is we've created a purpose-built aerosol sterilizing UVC combination HEPA filter that also is able to not only sterilize all strains, irrespective of its virulence, but also serve as an environmental surveillance for the presence of COVID and also the presence of virulent strains. In addition, our next version, which we're working on, also has the ability to use Bluetooth to contact trace, so that not only will we know in the environment if there is the presence of COVID, what kind of virulent strains there are, but also who was in contact with it when the device was running. And so that's kind of how we kind of got together with HCI is that, you know, initially we were focused on developing a silicone-based ocular implant, part of which was to sterilize using UVC. And of course, when COVID came into play, we realized that, hey, this is something that potentially we could do to kind of help mitigate the risk of transmission.
Very insightful all around. Thank you again, Melissa and Dr. Ma. Next up, I'd like to introduce David Kwok, Associate Director of Entrepreneurship at York University, Canada's third largest university, and a member of the founding team at Yspace. Yspace is York University's innovation hub that supports growth-ready tech ventures and offers access to a community of innovators, entrepreneurs, and changemakers. Along with David is Yspace member Jim Fang, CEO of a health tech startup called Phyxable. Thank you both for joining me. David, let's start with you. Can you tell us what Yspace is all about and how does it support startups in achieving their growth plans?
Thanks, Mark. Yspace is York University's pan-university entrepreneurship hub, fostering a community of innovators and changemakers by creating an open and collaborative culture. We support not only the development of our startup ventures, but also the growth and well-being of entrepreneurs as impactful leaders. In addition, we work with our students and support the development of their entrepreneurial mindsets and provide them with meaningful work-integrated learning opportunities. Since 2018, Yspace has supported more than 201 students and 317 startups to generate over $15.7 million in revenue, raise over $23.3 million in private and public funding, and created 343 new job opportunities through 12 different programs and initiatives. We opened our incubator space in the heart of downtown Markham in 2018, and we were able to onboard 22 ventures and recruit 12 entrepreneurs and residents in our first year. Since then, we have launched Ontario's first food and beverage accelerator, supporting consumer packaged goods ventures to scale into mass retail and export. We are also home to Ella, an accelerator focused on supporting service and product-based ventures that are led by women founders and funded through the Women Entrepreneurship Strategy Fund. Lastly, we launched Yspace Digital earlier this year to support our entrepreneurs throughout the community, as well as our new virtual technology accelerator supporting technology ventures that are ready to launch and looking for sales and strategic investment support.
Thank you, David. Now, Jim, can you tell us about your startup, Phyxable, and how you became a member at Yspace?
Hey, Mark, thanks for that question. That's a great question. I'd love to give you a little brief about how we started. I'm a practitioner at first, so I'm a chiropractor, and I've been practicing for the last 12 years. And one of the things we noticed in a clinical practice was that there's some basic knowledge and information that all of our patients with common injuries like low back pain, neck pain should really use. And I think we want to really democratize that solution. So that's why we built Phyxable. Phyxable is an end-to-end virtual rehab platform. And why do we approach Yspace was because we were looking for space at first. So we were looking for lease opportunities in the area. And then we just looked at accelerators from DMZ to what they have at U of T, and then we looked at locally to York Region, and we're in York Region, so we saw the opportunity and saw the facility, and it was a beautiful facility. And meeting David there for the first time really opened up doors and enlightened me in regards to what support there is within the region. And from business development to sales to developing your first product, it just sounded great. And to be honest, they were able to come through with all of that. And one of the key things they came through, and even in the beginning, was an introduction to Aviva Insurance. So we work very close with insurance companies. So I thought that was a great way to kind of pay it forward for us to kind of commit to the facility.
Thank you for sharing your story, Jim. And thanks to both of you for speaking with us today. We now go to Northern York Region to learn about a new accelerator launching this year. I'd like to welcome Sean Stevens, CEO of Treefrog and founder of the new Treefrog Accelerator Program. Sean, thank you for being here. First off, can you introduce the Treefrog Accelerator Program to us and discuss the type of support that's offered to startups?
Absolutely, Mark. Really excited to be here. And I'm really excited to talk today about the new Treefrog Accelerator, the first of its kind in York Region. We're based in Newmarket, York Region, and it's going to be an accelerator like no other. We are a technical foundry, meaning we're going to help startups with just the beginnings of their technologies, getting them to artificial intelligence, augmented reality, app development, all the stuff that we at Treefrog have been doing for years. And now we're really going to be focused on getting people off the ground, that startup smell, that exciting, fun part at the beginning. What's a little different for us is that not only focused on the local startup world, which is really, really inspirational in York Region, but also we're going to be attracting international startups. So we're going to be helping startups everywhere from Hong Kong to the Ukraine to Africa and bringing them to Canada, Canadianizing and helping them in their attempts to take over the North American markets that exist here for them. So some really interesting things happening in our end of the woods.
And now, Sean, with this new program ready to launch, can you highlight some of the advantages for startups to establish a presence in the Northern York Region municipalities?
Mark, absolutely. There are so many advantages to York Region and Newmarket and the local municipalities. Listen, not only do you get all of the benefits of Toronto in that you can just jump on a plane, jump on a train, jump on a bus, jump in a car, and get access to anything you want. In addition to that, we have the highest concentration of ICT companies in the GTA, in the Toronto area. We have over 4,300 ICT companies. If you need some other startup juice, some other companies to get off the ground, this is the place. In addition to that, and I can say more importantly, is the sense, the community sense. When you walk down the street in Newmarket, people will stop and help you, give you directions. And in the same way, if you want help in business, the whole business community here is all working together, really caring about one another and helping each other grow. And you just don't get that anywhere else in the world. I actually grew up all over the world, and I've intentionally picked wanting to live and work in Newmarket. That's how special it is to me.
Thanks, Sean, and good luck with this new program. And thank you to everyone who participated in this segment. I think a clearer picture is starting to emerge. Tech startups established in York Region will benefit from being located centrally in the Greater Toronto Area and can tap into a network of organizations that not only support their growth, but offer low-risk space and soft landing options for entrepreneurs in their initial phase of expansion. Please stay tuned as we move into our final segment, looking at the practical steps of moving to Canada and establishing your business. Welcome back, everyone. In this third and final segment, which we're calling Made in Canada, we will explore important steps and considerations for moving to Canada and establishing your business right here. Joining me for this discussion is Zia Sumar, partner with Long Mangalji LLP, a law firm that specializes in Canadian immigration. We also have with us David Reagan, partner in charge, tax incentives practice at KPMG Canada. KPMG, of course, is a global professional services firm with a major presence at the Vaughan Metropolitan Centre in the City of Vaughan, York Region. And to provide some sound advice from the banking and capital side of things, we have Amy Ng, Vice President of Technology and Innovation Banking with the Royal Bank of Canada. Amy's national team offers customized banking solutions for Canadian technology companies and has a large Toronto area office in the City of Richmond Hill, York Region. Thank you all for being here. Let's start with you, Zia. Once a company is already up and running here, what are some options for companies to bring in and hire global tech talent for their Canadian operations?
Thank you, Mark. The technology sector has recently been booming in Canada, and I think part of this certainly has to do with our comparatively favorable immigration policies, which has led to companies moving their operations to Canada, and on the other side, foreign workers preferring Canada where they have a more certain future. There's two ways for companies to access the global talent stream. Category A requires that a company is referred by one of the stream's designated referral partners, like York Region, or Category B, where the position that the employer is looking to hire for needs to be a listed tech occupation, such as software engineers or computer programmers, for example. Through the global talent stream, a company should be able to bring in an employee in as little as 2 to 4 weeks. Another route, and we spoke about this briefly before, multinational companies can also transfer employees in either executive or senior management positions, or employees who are in what are called specialized knowledge roles through the intercompany transferee program. Depending on the nationality of the particular foreign national, this can allow for an almost immediate transfer, as some individuals are able to actually apply at the border for their work permits through this category. The third option for companies that I want to touch on today are the free trade agreements. So Canada currently has FTAs with a number of countries, including the United States, Mexico, Chile, Peru, Colombia. We're also part of CETA, along with the CPTPP. Each of these agreements includes a list of professions for which individuals that have a pre-arranged offer of employment in Canada can again obtain a work permit quickly. And we see this being used for a lot of tech occupations and a lot of tech roles.
Thanks, Zia. Over to David. What are some of the steps and corporate considerations for tech companies wanting to establish their startup in Canada?
Thanks, Mark. That's an excellent question. It comes up all the time in the tech center space. So what you do to set up your operation in Canada, step one is traditionally incorporate a company in Canada. It's $2,000 or $3,000 of legal fees to set up a corporation, and you set up the corporation with the foreign company as the 100% shareholder. That is the norm, the standard way you operate. And you do that because you want to isolate the foreign company from tax in Canada. Canada is considered a moderately high tax or a high tax jurisdiction. So the corporation would be subject to tax in Canada. That corporation would hire your employees. That corporation would do business with customers. That would give you a substance in Canada. And that's the traditional way to start up your tech operation. So the tech centers in Canada, tech operations, benefit from something called the Scientific Research and Experimental Development Tax Credits, a generous tax credit for development activity that goes on in Canada. So your Canadian corporation you set up hires people, and if they're developing technology, and generally if they're working on speed, performance, connectivity, or security work in your technology space, that type of work is eligible for the SR and ED tax credits. And you get 15% from the federal government on your SR and ED development work, and you get 3.5% from the province of Ontario on the work. So quite generous by global standards and a lifeblood of a lot of tech companies that operate in Canada. The program is a big program. Lots of companies are eligible. The Canadian government pays out $3 billion, which is big by Canadian standards, under this program to companies that are developing technology. And there's over 20,000 companies that make claims a year in this program. So pretty well all tech operations should have some amount of eligibility for work, and therefore able to get the generous tax credits.
Thank you, David. And now on to you, Amy. What are some important banking considerations for a foreign company planning to expand their operations to Canada?
Thanks, Mark. So there are several areas that foreign companies should consider when they expand into Canada. Typically, what we see is that they would require a US dollar account and a Canadian dollar account for receiving and dispersing funds in these two currencies. We also see these companies requiring credit cards, and they also would like to have the ability to do FX transactions in a convenient and cost-effective way. Another consideration is cash management products and services, as they need robust digital solutions for growing in the Canadian market, when oftentimes we see these companies' finance team could be located outside of Canada. Another area that we see more and more foreign companies looking to set up is some kind of employee savings and banking plans to help with attracting and retaining talents, which are always top of mind for Canadian technology companies.
Wow, this has been a great session. I want to thank you all for joining me today. This now concludes our program. I trust that you now have a clear understanding as to why the Greater Toronto Area's York region is one of the best places in Canada and North America to expand your technology company. We would like to sincerely thank all the participating experts and organizations, our producer, Render Media, and most importantly, a big thank you to you, our viewers who joined us today. For more information and to connect with our team, please visit us online at yorklink.ca or follow us on these social media channels. Thanks for watching and take care.